How to become a better filmmaker. In today's episode of the Next Show podcast, we're giving all our insights and share all our knowledge along the way. So Robin, how did you start with filmmaking?
The funny thing is, when I started with filmmaking, I knew I just wanted to put my fantasy into something visual. At first, I started with photography, and then I met two friends who were really in love with the same thing. And then we met weekly to just get better at the craft. And then we really shortly noticed we want to make films. And
that's nice.
For us, it was really important to have like a plan to get into films. And right at the beginning, we started to defining a vision for our project that we have with each other. And it was to make films that inspire people worldwide to do and go after what they love. And something measurable for that was winning an Oscar, a really big goal. And then we made a plan. How can we achieve this goal? And the first step for us was really important to get to know photography perfectly. So the first 1.5 years, we only focused on photography with knowing that we want to go into filmmaking, because we knew the first thing that we need to really get to know is how to set the light perfectly and the composition of pictures. And only after you have the basics, then you can go into filmmaking. And that was the plan. And through this, we worked, we got our first clients. And now I'm 6 years self-employed with my own film company. Wow. It's in a short time summarized. If I ask you, how did you start with filmmaking? Was it from the beginning the plan to go after this, or did you flow into from other hobby?
I would say I flow into this from other hobbies. I was really into building stuff, building like electronic things. I love technology, but in very young years, I started to pick up I think it was the camera from my grandma, and I started making Lego movies with these little figures and like stop motion, take a picture and move the figure a little bit more. And that's where I literally started, I would say. And back then I had a bigger break where I did some woodworks and I got some building parts with soldering and different. Yeah, I was always like on the creative part, but not deeply in the visual. And then I did a test work for a TV company. Was like search what job could fit for me, and this really motivated me to pick up a camera and actually started using my phone firstly. And I think this is also for our viewers, start with what you already have, because the best camera is the one you already have. And then after this I decided to pick up a camera, to buy one, and I bought the Sony ZV-E10 in the beginning, and I made a lot of sport videos. I had some friends who did some biking. We have a forest really close to my home, and then I practiced some videos with my friends and did a lot of nature stuff alone. For me, it was really not photography, it was more filmmaking in the first sites. Yeah, and then I decided to pick up the camera actually because I wanted to make a travel film, because I was so inspired by those travel videos on YouTube. And then we went to our first big trip with my family to South Finland. And that's where it really started everything. I produced this travel film, started to editing and watched a lot of YouTube tutorials, and yeah, just got in the flow with practicing and just keep going by doing what I love.
So like the exact moment that you knew that you want to go after your own passion of filmmaking was in that holidays, that you know, this is the thing that I like, I want to go after this?
Yeah, I would say it's actually a little bit more after this one, where I went more into the craft and did more different things. And in the beginning, I actually didn't post anything on Instagram. And then a friend of mine said, you should start an Instagram channel. And I was like, no, I don't want to. But then I did it. And this was actually the first biggest start where it literally clicked. And I thought, wow, this would be something I would like to do as a job. So I set up my first website and began by just doing some free work and reached out to different businesses. And this is, yeah, literally the way it started for me.
So in your opinion, what is the most important thing when you start as a filmmaker?
I would say the most important thing is just go out and practice. Keep going and try out as many things as you can. I think this is the most important part, and try to focus on lighting at the beginning and also on the story. Because if you trying to do this, you will get way more into building a good story. And after that, you can learn how to make things look good. Because when it comes to filmmaking, it's all about the story, and then it's about the part that makes the image looking good. With photography, for me, it's like the opposite. It's like more, you look about lighting and framing and colors. It's way more about producing a good looking image. And in filmmaking, it's the complete opposite for me. But this is something I actually just realized. So it took me 3 years to realize that this craft is way more important than the visual style.
I think the most important thing when you start as a filmmaker is just to go and practice a lot of times.
Yeah.
And then getting, all the basics. How do you set up
Absolutely.
the camera, basic light setup, and from there on you can just focus on what you really feel. I think there's not a right or wrong way, but getting to know the basics like of composition and of light, I think it's the basic. What do you think, or what do we think is like the best way to become better at composition and lighting in general?
I think turn your camera to manual mode as early as you can, because in the beginning I didn't use manual mode, but just 1 month after I was into this, I watched some YouTube videos and tried to shoot everything in manual mode, because this gives you like the learning over all the settings and how the light affects your image and also how white balance works and this stuff. And if you then understand this, you can go more into lighting. But again, there's no wrong or right answer to this. Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, I think for me it was the lighting part was the one that was like shit. I just put the light a bit more to the left or to the right, and it just changes the picture slightly. And I looked a lot of famous photographers at the beginning, and we tried to recreate the pictures of those photographers. And I think this was a really nice thing at the beginning, because also with photography, you can have like 2 lights and you can make most of the things that you want to do with the 2 lights. And I think the biggest thing that I learned from lighting is you don't need to make the whole face bright. Most of the time you want to have shadow. Shadow is actually like lighting a picture is not about the light, it's more about the shadows. So like shadow is more important than lights. And shaping it the way you want really can tell different feelings. And for examples, you look at our faces, and we can turn our face more to the side. We see the shadow side. And I think it's a really nice thing to realize that shadow is more important than light. And when I realized this, my whole filmmaking career got like way more cinematic, because I realized shadows.
Yeah.
And if you really want to bring it to the peak, I think the best thing that you can have is backlight silhouette. For me, it doesn't get any more cinematic than this. And so if we have the sun out there, I don't like when I started, I put the person in directly, so the sun lights the person, and now I always put the sun behind the person, and maybe I have like a reflector putting some light into the person, and makes it look way more cinematic.
This makes a huge difference. Yeah. I think lighting, the easiest lighting is the Rembrandt lighting, like the one we do have now, where you see the Rembrandt, the rectangle here.
Yeah.
So just put your camera in the straight way of you and add a key light into a 45 degrees angle. I think this is the one trick that makes everything look different compared to like the videos you see with a ring light on social media. I think this is the best trick. And also what's important is to shoot on the shadow side as you can. And this is like as you told us, shadows are so much more important than the light. And this instantly levels up your videos. Yeah, I think this. And also something for me, a big learning is recreate as many things as you can. Because if you try to recreate different styles, on the way of doing this, you will find your own visual style. And this was also for me, I like to, first in the beginning, I was a huge fan of this orange and teal look. And then I tried like different moodier looks. And right now I'm more into this film look because it's quite popular right now. And yeah, I've always been a fan of the moody look, like a bit more bluish. And right now I think I have a good combination of the film look with grain and a little bit also of this moodiness in the shadows.
Yeah.
And this is really recreate or even copy other things, because that's where you learn the things in filmmaking. And on the way, you will find your own style.
Yeah. I think that's really nice, what you said, to try different things out. And also, I think at the beginning, it's really nice, you're really free. You just try out different things. And also, I think the unfair advantage that you have when you start new as a filmmaker, just before you learn too much, try out the videos exactly the way like you intended them to be. Just make videos like really like you wanted them to make.
Mm-hmm.
For this, you have like a style at the beginning, and at the same time copy people, but don't try to mix it together. Like I want to make something own and mix it with people. I think the beginning is really just something that you like personally and something that you just copy. And then with time, you can start to merge the different worlds together. And I think back when I started, I always had this dream in mind with taking pictures to create something that wasn't there before. For example, I did a lot of photoshopping at the beginning. For example, we sat in a car and edited out the sky like it looked we're in space or something like this. Just where I thought, it would be so nice to have this in reality. And I think it's also I also think filmmaking school can be harmful in a way, because you learn how things should be. And if you just start as a filmmaker and figuring things out the way you like them to be, you have more of your own taste. And a lot of successful film directors had at the beginning their own style, because they just didn't had the school as everyone else. So they had to figure out things their own way. And I think filmmaking is really about trying to figure out things to make something visual the way that you would intend it to be. There are 100 ways to make something visual. And for this, you can provoke emotion. And when I saw your edits, like your first edit from you, I was like, shit, just the white, the aesthetic, there's something in it. I really feel the aesthetic. I think it was this reel with where you edit yourself, like with the white flashes. And I was like, shit, the composition, the editing, the sound effects really give me the vibe of something special. And I think everyone has like their own special taste. And if you polish it too much, then it gets like everyone else. So it's a balance act of trying to do what other people do, but also finding the thing that you really love. And yeah, maybe you can, like, I'm really wondering what was like the taste of you, or the feeling that you wanted to provoke with your edits at the beginning. Like what was your mindset at the beginning? Was like, I want to make something that could be played in a commercial, or what was the vision behind that?
I would say I had no vision in the beginning. For me, it was actually kind of interesting. It was more the story and more what would happen in the image. And I've tried to use different perspectives, especially my first real video was a biking video, and I used like different combination, different cuts, like more action stuff and faster stuff, slow shutter, all these different techniques. I tried to combine this, but I didn't make anything like crazy looking in the colors. I just used like the normal Rec 709 standard profile picture on my camera. And it was more after like 1 year, I tried to get more into visual style. First bought some really awful LUT packs in the beginning. I think buying a LUT pack is always, you learn something out of it, how these people are color grading, but you just slap on the LUT and you don't do anything by yourself. So for me, it was firstly more of this. And after I watched a lot of YouTube videos, I then found my style and then recreated. Like, I'm a big fan of Gox. His videos are so good, and the film look. And then I used like different inspirations and mixed them all together and tried to recreate them, and then literally gave me like understanding on how my style is working.
Yeah, that's nice. I think we can shortly step over to the part. When did you get your first client jobs, and how do you put out yourself to get a client job? How did it work?
I got my first client job with 14. So
crazy.
I was going to school then, and I built myself a website with Canva just to have something and a little portfolio. So I was doing some work for 1 year, some portfolio work. And then I thought, I'm confident enough to try something new. And then I've just reached out to different businesses over Instagram. But the first client job was actually from a friend of mine who I was asking. He was working on a food truck in my town. And then I asked him, do you need any videos? And then I told him I will do one video for free, one Instagram video. And then they said yes. And this was literally the start. I filmed this and posted it. And this really like helped me to get more into this bubble. But at first it was more with my network, more in my family, more in this part. And then Instagram came for me, and this really shifted everything. Like when the first viral video hits or the first viral post hits you, then the clients really, or even bigger clients, start to reach out to you. And that's where it literally starts, I think. All the other stuff was for me still for like experiencing the stuff, how I can do this, how I work together with clients. So this is my learning.
I think to put yourself out on Instagram is really important, because always just put your work out. And it's like having a network of people that you can reach out at the beginning is really important. And the lucky thing is, when we started, there was like from the city, there was like a startup foundation, or like just a program where they had like 10 companies, or just really young startups, and helping them to become good businesses. And luckily we got into this program, and through this there was like a really big door opener for us, because we had like contact to many different companies and people. And if you do a good job for someone, they really try to help you to get other jobs. And if you really at the beginning, I think if you're a young filmmaker, you need to take advantage of your age and of your hunger. So if you go to a company, you really give all your best, and the company feels, as a young person who tries to make good business, he gives it all. And then they're really like, man, I want to see this guy win. and that they help you to get other client jobs. And I think making good work for your client is the best advertisement that you can make. And yeah, so first of all, take the surroundings that you have, like the network. Second of all, try to give it the best job that you can make. And third of all, post your work on social media. So that's how do you start to get your first clients.
Yeah.
Did you had like some learnings from the client jobs where you thought, man, I shouldn't know this from the beginning, but saved me so much time?
Wow. Yeah, I had a lot of learnings from this. Well, first of all, I would say yes to as many opportunities as you can in the beginning, because you need those videos to show them on Instagram to build a portfolio. So this in the beginning is very important. And I think do some free jobs in the beginning is crucial. I mean, if you can get paid, then it's good. But yeah, I would say also a huge problem was for me, I was underpricing myself. I mean, yeah, I was still 14, and then it's really hard to charge like a good amount of money for a video. But I once did a music video for $200. And for this, it was a complete music video. I needed 1 day to shoot and also 1 day to edit. And I had a lot of work, but I also had a lot of learnings, like the contact with the client and all the outreaching stuff, and how can I be like, I think also it's super important that you always try to be friendly, because you as the person are still, you're the personal branding, and you need to give them a good feeling that they can trust you. So you can do them everything, and you'd overtop yourself always a little bit more. So you're delivering like a BTS reel on top of this. And then you're thinking, oh wow, we're getting more than we wanted. And this is something I think is really important if you try to do this, because you then differentiating yourself from the other ones. And yeah, for me, it's also give your visual style into the work if you can, because this is like your footprint in the work, your fingerprint in the work. And then the clients also notice, oh, this man has a nice style. And then sometimes some clients only book you because they like your style. And in the end, it's about the style and how it looks.
I really like this. Yeah, the financial part is really, it's so hard at the beginning. If you're at the beginning, you do like free jobs, and then when you move on from the free jobs to the less paid jobs, then it's really hard, because some big key learning that I had, the cheaper the video production is, the more re-edits the client wants, or the harder the client is. So
absolutely,
I think the more they pay, the more they know what they want, and also like if a person invests like personal money into a project, it hurts them way more than a big company. So it's also way more pressure for the person. And then learning that I also had at the beginning is we always showed our rough cuts way too early to the clients. And sometimes if you have a rough cut and you show it to the client, they can't imagine what is possible in the end. So it's very hard sometimes for the client to trust the process. So you need portfolio work that proves that you can do the work. And also, I think you just need to tell them you know what you're doing, and you need to have the confidence to tell them, hey, no, don't do this. Let's do it this way. And I think you only build this with projects, like with many hours into filmmaking. You summarize all those learnings together and get more comfortable.
Yeah.
So
for me,
communication is, sorry?
Yeah, and for me, I did like the first job. I delivered the video on the same day because I wanted to edit this, but
Yeah.
this was actually a mistake because I think it's better to just wait some days so that the client sees, oh, he's putting all his energy in it, all his time, even if you don't, because this like it shows that they can trust the process you're doing rather than you just giving them back. So even if the video is good, they're thinking like it's not the best you did because only took you like 2 hours to edit. But the client shouldn't know this. The client only should know how they only should see the video, the outcome that's looking good, and no matter how long it took you. And this was also like for pricing. In the beginning I charged hourly, but right now I'm not doing this because I think it's much better if you charge on the value that the video, the outcome has, and the effects that it can do if it's out there in the world. It works much better for myself. And most of the time, if you just count the hours, sometimes it's actually way less money than you wanted to have for the video. And sometimes it's way more. And I think, so for me, I never charge hourly, only if it's like something, a repetitive work. Yeah.
Yeah, I think at the beginning we were like, we looked at different jobs, how they do their offerings. And at the beginning we put everything down, all the information. And it was like too many information because then the client told us, yeah, I don't need the pre-production there. I don't need this thing here. And if you just say, okay, this is like a bundle of like the pre-production, it costs around this many hours. And I think that's important to have like the hard job that we have is like making an offer for a project that we sometimes don't know how many hours we need to finish the job. So that was like the biggest problem that we had, like financially, was always to communicate how much does the project cost.
Yeah.
And then in the end, when it costs more, when do you communicate, hey guys, at the beginning we told it costs around 5,000. Now you want to shoot more. Now it costs like 7,000 if you want to have this in. And to communicate at the right time is really important. And yeah, you can save so much time and stress if you communicate right. And I think communication is really the key. And I think the biggest lesson that I had is like every time when I have like the gut feeling, okay, maybe I'm not sure if like the project gets too big for that price, I always communicate, hey guys, I have the feeling it maybe could be a bit more, but I will text you when I finally know it. So they already have like the input from me. So but that's still a thing that I'm trying to get better at. And luckily I have a coworker who's really focusing on this part, so I can focus more on the creative part. But that's nice. That's the thing that we had to really learn. And I think now we have a really good feeling for how much time a project takes and how much work it is to finish. And also what's the prices should be to just, if you look over some years, what should be the ratio of the price for a project?
Yeah, I think for me, all the stuff it's better to overprice you a little bit more, because then the client sees, oh, this guy trusts his own worth, that it's his own work that is worth it. So they see, oh, this guy is a professional guy. And also if you write like English words on it, like pre-production, planning, DOP, camera, they do feel like, wow, this man does know his work. And then you build a trust with the client. But I also think for me, a big mistake in the beginning was I did like everything from every niche. I do think it's not a mistake. I would say I learned something out of it, that I tried different things, different niches. So I don't want to go into this niche, or I don't want to go into this niche. So this helped me to decide in which niche I want to go. But also if you do like work for, in the beginning I asked like small restaurants and to make a video, like a reel for them for a very low budget. And if you do this, they like really refer you to another restaurant, and then you get another job, which is nice. But if you don't want to go into this niche, and this is not a well-paid niche, I would say, then it's not good. So you need to get into the right niche and get the right clients that pay you enough, so you can get other clients that would even pay you more. So you're not stuck in the small bubble with companies or with small people that pay you less money for a video job. Yeah, I think this is one of the biggest learnings for me when it comes to charging and with clients.
Yeah, that's a really important thing, but also I think people shouldn't be too worried about this topic. You're gonna make failures at the beginning. And
yeah.
you're gonna learn from this, and every project is a chance to learn something that you would pay
absolutely
thousands of dollars in a normal school. So go out and make real life experience.
Yeah, I would say this is more important in the beginning, but once you realize, then it's good to look for a direction you want to go in once you're confident enough, once you had all this learning. Because I think it's not good in the beginning if you just say, oh, my work is valuable like so much. If you just overprice yourself and you firstly only want to work with big clients, then you do some bad mistakes, and then it's like really hard to fix them if you get paid well. So go out and make your own experiences. This is the best knowledge, I would say.
So now we have like some insights for our viewers, but do we also have like some, for the end of the episode, do we also have like some things that's really small sentences that we think are really valuable for the viewers if they just start as a filmmaker and want to become really great, really fast? What would be our best tips that we have for them?
Well, just keep going.
Yeah, I think that the most important thing, the realization that we both had is like story is the most essential. And if you really focus more on storytelling at the beginning, making great stories, I think this is the most leverage thing that you can do, focus on story.
Yeah, and don't think about it too much. Like I told, do manual exposure, do this. Yeah. This was also something I personally didn't always did, like lighting for me. Like after 2 years, I was into filmmaking. Then I started to buy a light rather than in the beginning. So don't just listen to like other people, try to figure things out by yourself. That's number one for me.
Then all these other things that are also really important is that you have like friends who are on the same path, so you can exchange your learnings. When we started, we had like 2 other film companies that we met like monthly. Hey, what are your newest learnings? Hey, we have a problem here. How can we solve this problem? I think having a network of people do the same job is really helpful. And the better your network are, the faster then you grow. That's an important thing. And maybe last thing is just have a good time while shooting, because most of the time it's also people who work in position to make advertisement or like people working marketing general, they also want to have a good time while shooting. So sometimes they make a shoot because they need it, but they also are really looking forward to the shoot. Oh, wow, it's nice. It's interesting for them. And the more you have a good time with the people, the better it is. And something that I learned from Lauren, he was like, I don't know the word. He worked for us a year, and he was with the clients like with friends. And then when I realized this, hey, the people really like him because he's not like, oh, so professional. He's just like, hey, how do you like it? And it's really personal, and he speaks to the person like it's a friend and not a client. I think it makes also a big difference. It makes way more fun through this.
Yeah, I also think like personal branding and uploading talking head videos like clearly should show the client how you are thinking. And if you then are the same, like authentic, then it's perfect, because the communication with the client is still the most important part of like having jobs, doing client work. Yeah.
I think we have some nice nuggets for people to get better as filmmakers. And if you have any ideas or question to us about getting better as a filmmaker or just topics that we can talk about, let us know in the comments. And really looking forward to the next episode. And the last word is to you.
Yeah, see you there. Keep going, keep practicing, and yeah.
Let's get better together. See you guys.